So this is for 3.1, which is solving two-step equations. So now instead of just having one step, we have to do two. So we can use both the subtraction or addition and division or multiplication to solve a problem. So for example, if you had 14x plus 12 equals 54, the goal here is we want to find out what x is. And the way we can do that is by getting everything on this side of the equation moved to the other side. But it's always best to start with the thing furthest away from x. So for example, 14x is more closely, the 14 is more closely associated with x than the plus 12. So we want to start with minus 12 from both sides, which then we can simplify to 14x equals 42. And this is just like the problems you've done from the previous chapter. We divide both sides by 14, which we can write out here. 14 divided by 14 cancels out, giving you 1, which is just the same thing as x. And then we can get x equals 3 because 42 divided by 14 is 3. And that's the answer. So we're working with multiple steps to get it using both subtraction and division in this example. Then we can check our work. So we can take this 3, plug it back in for x, and make sure that this statement is true. So 14x plus 12 equals 54. So 14 times 3 plus 12 equals 54. So 54 equals 54. Good. We've checked it. We know this is correct. You can use your calculator to help you. Then we can move on. So here are some practice problems. So press pause now and give these a try using this multi-step, two-step equation using subtraction and division. The next example, now let's use addition and multiplication. Still two steps, and we still want to make sure we start with the thing furthest from x. So in this case, we want to start with plus 8. We want to move this 8 away. If you don't start with this, it's okay. You can multiply everything by 8, but everything by 6, but everything needs to be multiplied by 6, including this 8. So it's always easiest and less steps if you start by canceling out whatever is not associated with the x first. So in this case, these would cancel, leaving us with x over 6 equals 14. In order to get x alone in this case, we want to multiply both sides by 6 because 6 divided by 6 cancels to be 1. And then we have 14 times 6. Which maybe you know this, but if you don't, you can plug into your calculator and get x equals 84. Then we would want to check it. So put the 84 in your calculator. So do 84 divided by 6 first. Then subtract 8 and make sure it's equal to 6. If it's not, you made a mistake here. So maybe you accidentally subtracted or multiplied when you're supposed to divide, things like that. So you want to go back and check your work. So go ahead. Here's a few more practice problems. So go ahead and try using addition and multiplication to solve these. Press pause now. And the last example is what happens when you end up with a negative coefficient. Remember that coefficient is the number associated with the variable. So you could have negative 2x. So negative 2 is our coefficient. So in this problem here, we have 10 minus n divided by 5 equals negative 3. You always want to start with this 10. Let's get rid of the 10 because it's not directly associated like the 5 is with the n. So let's subtract 10 for both sides, and 10 is positive, which leaves us with negative n over 5 equals negative 13. In order to get n by itself without this negative sign, we know that a negative times a negative equals a positive. So let's multiply by negative 5 on both sides. because in this case, it will cancel out including our negative sign here. So we'd end up with n equals negative 13 times negative 5, which is equal to 65. And then again, we can plug this back in and check. So put that 65 back in here, divide it by 5, make sure 10 minus 13 equals negative 3. Good, we've checked it. It's a great habit to always do that. That way you don't get mistakes taken off for something you know you just made a simple mistake. So practice the final 2 problems, and that's it for this lesson. So bring your work with you tomorrow so we can go over and practice these 2-step problems.